Alex, and I'm here today with the lovely Courtney, who I got to meet for the first time down here in Las Vegas. And I'm super excited to get to know her a little bit better, and I thought, why not introduce you to her as well? So I have some questions for you today, Sarah.
Sounds fun.
All right, so you have had a lot of exciting things happening in the last year, and you've been moving. You want to talk about where you've been?
Yeah, so I spent the past 3 years living in Germany. My husband is in the military. So we have just moved back to the US from there. And thankfully we still had our house back in the US to move into, so that was nice. But we still don't have furniture. It's still somewhere crossing an ocean. That's been exciting. So novelty here has been having a real bed to sleep in for a few days.
It's crazy.
But hopefully by Christmas things will be more settled and that sort of thing.
And you're still waiting for your, did you get your car yet?
We have not gotten our car yet.
Okay.
So I'm hoping for the car soon because I have a bunch of kids and they don't all fit in the borrowed car we have right now. So we can't all go anywhere. We sometimes have to have a couple of the kids ride their bikes to get wherever while the rest of us drive. So.
And she still managed to get down here to Las Vegas for an author
By
conference.
plane, so planes are easy.
Yes, I'm impressed that you managed to fit all that in. So I heard that you got to go see England this summer.
Yes, I did.
All right.
I've actually been to England a few times. One of my favorite places to visit, obviously, connection with Pride and Prejudice. So Melanie and I met up in England and we did a lovely little tour. We got to see a little bit of Cambridge. We went up to Saffron Walden, I think. It's a nice little historic town. We went up to Matlock and got to see some of the Derbyshire area and kind of imagine Pemberley. Saw Chatsworth, which was gorgeous. And then we went down to, let's see, Bath. And I've been to Bath before. I love it. It's I'm not usually a city person, but it's so beautiful and it has a small town sort of feel to it, which I really like. Very walkable. So the Jane Austen Museum. And then did we do anything in London? I think we bypassed London on this trip, but I have been to London before. So I've been to the British Museum and some of the other cool things downtown. And that was about it. So we did a whole little cycle tour. I got to drive on the left side of the road. Every other time I've been to London or to England, it's been with my husband. He does the driving. So that was a novelty for me. I would say that having driven in Germany helped an awful lot. In Germany, they drive on the right side of the road, same as the US, but the lane signals, the way that the roads are laid out is much more similar, England to Germany, than England to the US, I think. And so having that, it was like a halfway jump, and then, you know, made it a little bit easier, so.
Nice. So you have several Jane Austen fan fiction books published. They call them Austen-esque or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But you've got quite a few. So
I have
what made
8.
you start? 8. That's amazing. What made you start writing Jane Austen fiction?
So I started reading Jane Austen fiction because my mother-in-law ran into a book and she was like, oh, Sarah would like this. She loves Pride and Prejudice. So it was Unequal Affections by Laura Ormsby.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That's the name. Beautiful book, wonderful book. And it's a really great introduction because it takes a simple, like, well, what if, you know, Jane goes from there. And it's not so different in style. It was a beautiful introduction, and after I read that, oh, I was hooked. I read all the chaff I could find, reading avidly. I had already enjoyed writing fan fiction and that sort of thing, but as I was reading it, I told myself, like, I'm never gonna write this stuff, never gonna write this stuff because it's in England, I'm not English, I couldn't write like that, I couldn't write the right language, and I told myself I wasn't gonna do it until I did it.
So you did it. And so have you always wanted to be a writer?
Yeah, I mean, even when I was in middle and high school, like if you look at some of my old stuff, I was writing little stories and sometimes with my friends, terrible stories. I mean, they weren't any good. I thought it was very funny at the time, and I go back, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so bad. But I was writing, and I think that's the important part. You're writing something, you're doing it. I wrote very avidly in college. I considered changing my major to creative writing.
Wow.
But I took a course or two, but it was kind of too late to actually change my major. But I was writing a lot in college, shortly after college. And then I had kids, and I took a 10-year long break. I wasn't really doing any writing, just lots of reading.
Right.
So, but I think I was primed to write Pride and Prejudice stories once I'd read a few.
Alright, so what are you working on right now?
So I'm actually working on some things that aren't Jane Austen related. Right now, I know, because I love fantasy. That's my other my other love. I love Jane Austen stuff, and I love romantic fantasy, like
Which
fairy
is
tale
a
based.
very strong crossover right now.
There is a lot of crossover, and I find that a lot of fantasy fans are also secret Jane Austen lovers. So you go to like pages, websites and stuff like that for fantasy, and people will be like, "There's a new Jane Austen fantasy book," you know, or whatever. So there's a lot of crossover, but I've been working on that. But I do still plan to write more books in the Jane Austen fandom. Some with magic, because I like that combination. I've done a few that way. Some without. I have a interesting Mr. Phillips story that I would like to.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of angst in that.
That's
I would like to get to that at some point. I mean, Elizabeth and Darcy story, of course, but there's a interesting villain, I think. I do have some plans for some. I guess they would maybe fall under paranormal. Like I want to do kind of a Groundhog Day story. I want to do somebody has a far-seeing sort of ability. I don't want to give away exactly what it is, but somebody can see something that ordinary people can't. So I have a couple ideas there. I want to do another full-on magic story in which Elizabeth and Darcy both have a magical ability. So I have so many ideas that I want to write.
Oh,
so
I
little
can't wait to
time,
read
so
them.
many ideas that I can't wait to get to. So I'll have to kind of decide what my next, after I do these fantasy ones that have deadlines, I have to decide what I want to work on next. But I have a lot of ideas I'm excited about.
All right, so what about Pride and Prejudice? Do you think lends itself so well to all these different ideas? Why does it work for fan fiction and for imagination? Why does it do that?
So I think there are a couple of things. I think like the most obvious answer is just how beloved it is. You know, like they talk about it being light and sparkling. There's just so much, and so much of the book is very funny and enjoyable. Like there's just so many great scenes that it's fun to reread. But I do think that one of the things that really, really lends it to rewriting is the use of coincidence. So Jane Austen just has these constant coincidences, you know, like of course the rich Darcy coming to this tiny little town is a bit of a coincidence, but then also the meeting at Rosings and the connection between Mr. Collins, Lady Catherine, and Darcy coming to visit his aunt at the right time to be there when Elizabeth is, and then the meeting at Pemberley and Lydia having run off with Wickham and Darcy having the connection to Wickham. So many of those things are coincidences that one little change and oh my goodness, you'd have a different story.
Right.
So I've liked ones in which somebody makes the coincidences not coincidences because Darcy comes to Rosings on purpose knowing she'll be there, you know, comes to Pemberley early because he, you know, or something like, or she comes to Pemberley to look for him. But I also like ones in which they have near misses or there's some other reason for those connections. There's just so much you can do there. You know, you could have them, any of those places, you could also have them meet first before the other things, or you can miss this one. What if they didn't meet at Rosings but they meet at Pemberley?
So many ideas.
There's just so many. Yes, exactly. Like every time you stop and think about it, you're like, oh, but what if this?
What
you
if?
know,
Yeah.
there's just so many ideas. So yeah, I don't think we'll ever run out of ideas for fan fiction.
I hope not.
Pride and Prejudice and Jane Austen in general, but I mean Pride and Prejudice is the favorite, right? We all acknowledge it. So
Yeah. Well, you have been fantastic, and it's been so great getting to know you. I've been so excited. I was really looking forward to getting to meet you this week. And
yeah, I'm so glad I got to meet you too. It's
Yeah.
been fun.
Yeah,
Gone
we're
to some
gonna
great
do some
sessions
next
together.
Yes, this has been really a good time. So if you are an author, you guys need to come join us in Vegas next November.
Tons of fun. Really
Yes.
great.
Thank you, Sarah, very much.
Thank you.